right. If anybody can pick us up and give us some perspective after that one, it is our guy, Zach Stevens, who is live from the stadium. Do we have him here? We patched him in. Oh, my gosh. Zach, we need you, man. We need your energy.
I need a Coors Light right now is what I need, guys.
I think we need a bunch of those, man. Well, tough one. Take us inside, man. What did you see from the stadium and sort of what was the mood in the press conference today?
Well, look, everything was off. Before the game even started, we had the game was delayed a minute because of other games that bled in. The flyover was, I kid you not, a minute after the national anthem ended. We had some hot mics during the game as well on the field. And then in the post-game press conference, Sean Payton, the lights went off on him. So everything was off in this game. Outside of the defense, I mean, credit to the defense. You hold the team to 13 points. You deserve to win, but obviously the offense kind of followed the rest of the environment that was here, just not clicking, not doing its job. Still really in preseason form, but I guess I can't say preseason form because preseason form, the offense actually looked really good, including Bo Nix, and there's just nothing good from this offense right now. 6 points, 2 field goals. You don't get a touchdown, 62 yards at half and after the game. I think the biggest word right now in Broncos country is frustration. And I think fans, Broncos country itself and fans are angry, frustrated. They're mad. They're like, are you kidding me? This again? Inside the locker room, it is frustration, but it's not pissed off frustration. And we've seen that in the past. I mean, Todd, I've been in locker rooms with you after games where the defense is, when it's week 15 and you guys hold the team to 10 points and you still lose, that's like, okay, man, what can we do? Like pissed off. It's like, can the season just end soon? We're not there now. And I know Broncos country is kind of there already, which is insane and sad because it's only week 2. But I got to tell you, inside the locker room, it's not like that. They are fine. He didn't try to make excuses, but he did say, look, last year we started 0-2 and everyone was counting us out. We went on a 5-game win streak. When we were with Teddy Bridgewater, we started 4-0 and then we had a 1-5 streak down the season. So keeping it in perspective that there's still 15 games left. But saying that, you cannot never have 62 yards of offense and 0 points in the first half. I mean, when we have to draw on Pat Shurmur to explain what's going on, that's really bad. And Pat Shurmur once had a saying after a Broncos game where they didn't score in the first half. He said, well, sometimes teams don't score in the first half. That's become a mockery in Broncos country over the years. And unfortunately, I never thought we'd see it with Sean Payton. And we did see it with Sean Payton here. So obviously, you can just look at the box score and know exactly what went wrong here. The offense is just inept, and really the defense starts playing prevent defense and gets the Broncos maybe an extra 3 points there. But Sean Payton last week after the game, he said this starts or everyone around Bo needs to be better. Today, he still said that, but he started to point the finger more at himself, which I think is absolutely right. I think that's where it starts.
Well, what about confidence? Because as much as I think that is fair, and we're 2 weeks into this, it's pretty obvious. We just played blame game, and he was line item number 1. But what about the confidence? What do you take away from what you saw from him behind the scenes?
Yeah, Bo Nix was frustrated, very frustrated after the game. In fact, one question he was asked, can you take us through that interception in the end zone? What happened, which was a turning point in the game. If he doesn't throw that interception, the Broncos might win the game right there. That was a 7 to 10 point swing right there. You cannot put the ball in harm's way. And you could just tell his frustration after the game because his explanation for it was, I dropped back, threw it to the wrong team, and that was it. And so you can tell that the rookie is getting frustrated, getting short with reporters already, and that's going to be something where he's a captain of this team. He is a rookie, but he can't really act like a rookie. That is kind of the downside of putting a rookie as a captain is he can't be a rookie. He has to hold himself to a different standard, and holding himself in front of the media does translate to how it comes off to fans as well. So they're going to have to make sure they're going to have to protect him. Courtland Sutton, I think sometimes we've seen a very, very, very frustrated Courtland Sutton after a game. He was not. He was extremely composed. So I think that is going to be key for this offense is Courtland Sutton keeping this team together because they need to bounce back. And look, I asked Sean Payton after the game, you've talked all offseason and all training camp in the past few weeks about how important a fast start is. And now you've started 0-2. What's the message to the team? And he said, well, look, we've got 2 really tough games on the road. We have to come together on the road. And so they know it's a them against the world right now. And look, the Tampa Bay Bucks just went into Detroit and won. They're 2-0 coming off a big win last week as well. Broncos, essentially what Sean Payton said is that's a must-win game, and we're only in week 3. Then you go on the road to play Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. They don't seem as much of a juggernaut as a lot of people expected them to be, but they still had a road win today. So they're 1-0, but they're going to have to come together as a team, or else, I mean, Sean Payton, once you set a bar as a coach or a leader and you say, we got to get to this bar, and you don't through the first month of the season and you still have 3 or 4 months left, that's really hard to get your team fired up. So we're going to see what this team's made of. And I think in the next 2 weeks, we're really going to know, because I find it hard to believe that there's going to be a big change of things in the next 4 weeks if they're 0-4 after this.
Yeah, Zach, there has to be a big change no matter what. But if this team wants to be successful, I think the defense is going to have to continue playing at a high level and play at an even better level if they want to be in these games and win some of these games. Speaking of the defense, I know that we're missing 2 guys towards the end of the game there. Do you have any updates on JFM or Baron Browning, or that they'll be ready to play next week?
Yeah, that's a great question. JFM dealing with a concussion and Baron Browning ankle. Sean Payton did not give us an injury update after the game. He's not too keen in doing those right after the game. We probably honestly won't know until Wednesday, but we will talk to Sean tomorrow morning to find out there. But those are 2 big guys that the Broncos are going to have to get after Baker Mayfield, who's playing with his hair on fire right now. He's playing lights out. And when it comes to the defense, Todd, I agree with you. The defense was great today, giving up 13 points, but not good enough for a win, which is crazy. Now, to be fair, if you have a rookie quarterback on one side of the football, you expect that everyone else has to step up around him. But it's really the running game that needs to step up. For the second week in a row, Bo Nix was your leading rusher. Inexcusable.
Yeah.
Cannot happen. Another thing, inexcusable. Tyler Beatty comes into the game, has the best run for the Broncos, and then we don't see him again. I mean, what are we doing here? You got to if you have some sort of spark, you got to see that again. But going back to the defensive side, it was clear about halftime, maybe at the end of the third quarter, if the Broncos are going to win this game or really have any chance, the defense was going to have to score, or the defense was going to have to make a big play, a pick that goes to the 10-yard line or something like that. And that's one thing that we have not seen from this defense. We've seen this defense get some sacks, get some pressure. Zach Allen continues to just be an absolute monster. He had a tackle for a loss and a near sack at the very first possession of the second half. He's been great, but you're going to need Pat Surtain to step up and become pick 6 Pat. You're going to need Riley Moss to come up with some plays. And while those guys have been good, the penalties have been brutal. And after the game, we talked to Pat Surtain, and I kind of like that he was pissed off about the penalties. He said they were BS. That's not the way Pat operates. Pat's a very quiet guy, kind of plays by the rules, follows the rules. I like the fire, though, because the team's going to need something here. And like I said, I think everyone is even-keeled right now, which is good. You can't be losing your mind in that locker room right now. But they're going to have some fire. They're going to have some things to give them a spark. And one other thing that I want to point out that Sean dropped in his press conference, which I think is very, very important. Sean Payton talked in his post-game press conference and said, we might be doing too many things on offense. We might be having too many different personnel groupings and changes. And look, that's one of the great things about Sean Payton's offense is he's able to maximize everyone to their strengths, whether it's the offensive linemen, whether it's running backs, whether it's wide receivers. That's why we've seen 7th-round picks turn into best players on Sean Payton's offense before. And that's why we've seen Alvin Kamara turn in from a 3rd-round pick to an all-pro, because he is able to put those guys in positions. But what that means is he's moving guys in and out, in and out. And Sean admitted for the first time in his tenure with the Broncos, maybe it's too much. And we as coaches need to take a step back and look at what we're asking guys to do. And I think that might be him pointing at Bo Nix and saying, look, I might be asking too much of Bo Nix right now. I might be sending too much in, too much out, too many moving parts, or we just kind of need to settle down. And that is where it starts, because if Bo Nix is a little overwhelmed, if these young players on this team are overwhelmed on offense and it's leading to this, well, then you have to fix that. But sometimes coaches are too arrogant and say, this is how I do things. You guys better get better or it's not going to be good. And he is taking a step back now. I want to see it translate next week. Are guys going to just stay on the field more? And then with the offense, you need playmakers. Javonte Williams averages 1.5 yards per carry. Jaleel averages 2 yards per carry. You have Cortland Sutton get 1 catch for 26 yards. Now, that was a big play, but come on. He's the number one guy. Now, I'm not saying it's all on him, but the playmakers need to step up because it was Josh Reynolds today, and the Broncos are going to need more.
The last one I got for you real quick, Zach. You talked about, us being caused 2 weeks in as an analyst. There's plenty of season left. This is a learning process. But the fans, obviously are not going to feel that way. They feel that sense of urgency. Being at the stadium tonight, what was the mood in the stadium? And could you feel at the bar there was almost some sarcastic laughs every time there was a first down? Was there tension from the crowd as they were watching the ineptitude of the offense tonight?
Tons of tension. And what just kind of made the salt on the wound there was so many Pittsburgh Steelers fans in here. And in fact, in the fourth quarter, when the Broncos called the timeout on offense, TJ Watt looked at the crowd and started firing them up. And oh my gosh, that is just it was an awful feeling, I'm sure, for every single Broncos fan there, because it's like, man, we can't really fight back against it because TJ Watt has held the Broncos in that defense to 6 points right now. Like, they are doing their job, and the Broncos offense just isn't. A lot of fans, only 1,000 no-shows, but the Broncos better be ready to do some good giveaways or something if things don't turn around, because we've seen no-show counts really high in the past. And if it maintains, you could feel that people were just fed up, like another season, not this again. And in the past 7-8 years, that feeling has crept into the building earlier and earlier every single year. About 2018, that feeling was here. And, week 16. And 2019, that feeling was here in week 15. And it just keeps getting closer. And honestly, this is the first time where it's really felt like that at week 2 in September.
Yeah, I think we're about 2 weeks in from guys starting to play for themselves and kind of thus, looking out for them, which, I think players have to, but you definitely want to be a team sport. But I think we're getting away from that shortly. I want to see how the stadium felt when they saw Russell Wilson on the sideline, high-fiving guys and having a good time, because it felt like he wasn't injured. He didn't look injured to me. He just looked like he was having a good time on the sideline.
Yeah, that was a very interesting dynamic here. When the Steelers ran onto the field, the 2 times they did it, one about an hour before kickoff, and then obviously right before the game, there were some boos there. And Russ, played just zero factor in this game. It was not really an emphasis in the building, except for one time when the video scoreboard put up a Russell Wilson jersey, and they had Wilson taped over it, and it said Lutz. Of course, because he's now number 3, and the stadium did kind of go crazy there. But Russ, at the end of the day, he has the last laugh, because he says, okay, it wasn't me, it was you, and this is clear. Now, to be fair, for sure, it was both. And to be fair, and I think the biggest message to Broncos country right now, this stinks, because it does feel like the same thing that we've seen. But it's different, because you do have a rookie quarterback making his second start. If you were to give up on quarterbacks after their second start, then there wouldn't be the John Elways, the Josh Allens, pretty much everyone except for C.J. Stroud last year. So it stinks, and it's the same thing over and over again. But the difference is the hope with Bo Nix. Don't give up on that yet. And I'm truly not giving up on that yet, because, again, it's way too early. Playing Seahawks in Seattle is a really tough way to start your career. Playing the Pittsburgh Steelers defense in Denver, really tough way to start your career. Unfortunately, you go on the road and play a really good Bucs defense, then you play on the road against the Jets defense. So they're going to have to find ways, though, because Bo Nix is going to have success downfield at some point here. You cannot try to build an offense that's sustainable by literally just throwing 5-yard passes. And that might be a long pass in this offense, and you can't rely on trick plays like they had. I love that they had the trick play, but until then, they hadn't had anything in offense. You have to have a more balanced offense. And it really starts with the running game, which was non-existent outside of Bo and one of Tyler Beatty's runs.
Well, Zach, this is great stuff from the arena, man. You really squeezed something out of almost nothing from this game. It was almost nothing exciting, but you know what? Lots of good stuff, and we look forward to all your reports on social media, and then, of course, back on the show tomorrow.
Let's go, guys. Keep faith. Don't lose it yet, but in the next 2 weeks, it might all be lost.
Take care.
All right, man.